You find yourself in a deserted Tokyo city where you have to play a series of death games to collect enough playing cards to earn your freedom. Could you survive? Well, today I'm going to go through the TV show Alice in Borderland, and I'm going to tell you all the times that they should have died and why you would too. We start off with Arishu, who doesn't do much except play video games all day, while Gamer and his friends Karub, the bartender, and Chota, an IT guy, are horsing around. Some fireworks go off and get the attention of everyone, including the police. They think they're in trouble, so they run inside and hide in a bathroom when suddenly the power goes out. So when they leave the bathroom, they discover that everyone around them has mysteriously disappeared. They sort of wonder about it, a bit confused for a while, as anyone in this situation would, and while they are sitting and joking around, a giant screen comes on with a message welcoming players to the game. It guides them to a building, and when they enter, they pass some lasers, which basically registers them into the game and keeps them from leaving. There's a table full of phones that work unlike all the other electronics in the city, but unfortunately they don't have any signal. Not that being able to call someone would do you any good anyways, but it is a pretty bad sign. A voice starts a 2-minute countdown waiting for other players to join, and a lady shows up and tells them a bit about what's going on and shows them that they can't leave. Chota's ID badge gets shot with a laser, and it came all the way down through the building, telling you that no matter where you are, they can get you, inside a building or otherwise. The first game begins with them stepping into a square room with 2 doors. One door is live, and the other is death. There are traps behind one of the doors, and your goal is to pick the correct door and not die, which is easier said than done. This woman tells him to pick the door on the right, but doesn't give them a reason why. It's obvious that she's trying to use them as fodder to see which door has the trap. Smoke begins to come up through the floor, which means you can't just sit in this room all day. You have to make a decision and make it fast. The other girl panics and runs through the life door and immediately gets killed. Well, at least now you know which door to go through. Right after they go through the death door, fire erupts from the floor in the previous room. This time they have 10 seconds less on the timer, so you better be quick or you're toast. They're arguing about which door to go through, and their time is running out, so bartender just chooses a door at random and gets lucky. It's basically a 50-50 shot whether you get a laser through the dome or not. We take a look at the timer again, and there's 10 seconds left. Gamer begins to figure out the building size by seeing a car out front, and he apparently knows the exact length of the car and uses that to figure out the size of the building. Okay, I'm gonna call bullshit on this one. There's not a chance in hell that this would work if he's gonna figure out the patterns in the show, at least make it somewhat reasonable. So he figures out the pattern by getting the building size using the car I mentioned earlier and by memorizing the floor plan with only one glance. So if you're in this situation, there's no way you're gonna figure this out. They give this game a 3 of clubs, which indicates the difficulty of the game, and a 3 is going to be one of the easier games. If I was gonna rate this game, I would rate it much higher, like an 8+, because in my opinion this game is pure chance. It's a coin flip where you have to guess the right door, and you have to do it over and over again until you escape or get roasted, and the vast majority of people aren't going to get lucky. But maybe if you're the strongest person in the room, you can force other people through the doors and only have to gamble your life a couple of times once you run out of fodder. Once they make it out, they find a card with a 3 of clubs, and their phones say that they have earned a 3-day visa. They then run into a guy in the alley who says his visa expires today, and then a laser comes down from the sky and kills him. To be honest, that might be the right choice. Just take your 3 days, enjoy yourself, then let the laser take you out a very quick and painless death. I would much rather that happen to me than get burned alive, or who knows what else in the upcoming games. Later, the woman tells them that she's been there for 3 days and the guys have only been there for 1. So when everyone disappeared and the power went out, they didn't all get put here at the same time. Gamer says that means time doesn't work the same way here. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. Either way, it means whoever or whatever put you here is incredibly powerful and doesn't bode well for your survival. The IT guy thinks the power going out is some kind of EMP. I don't think this is the case, because in the first game they turned on the power to the building and they turned it off once it was over. If it was an EMP, they wouldn't be able to just turn it on, as an EMP damages electronics. So they would have to be repaired before they could turn the power back on. So this tells me that they use some other means to control the power. Not that this matters too much, but I don't think even if you know how to fix some electronics that you would be able to make them work. Gamer and bartender decide to join a new game the next day instead of waiting for their 3-day time limit. This is really stupid. They want to buy time or find a doctor to help Chota's leg heal, but you should be spending this time preparing yourself for the next game, both physically and mentally, not playing an extra game for no reason. If you want to find a doctor, you would be better off just searching the city. While it is possible to find a doctor at the next game, I would say it's pretty unlikely, and even if you do, there's no guarantee that he would survive the game. But even in the best case scenario where you survive the game, find a doctor and he agrees to come and treat Chota's leg. He's not a wizard, he can't just magically make his leg better. A burn that's severe is going to take longer than 3 days to heal, so no matter what, he is going into the next game injured. And anyways, back to my original point. Playing an extra game that you don't have to is really stupid and an unnecessary risk. They show up to the extra and unnecessary game. There are a lot more people at this one. It's impossible to tell if this is a good thing or not. If you have to all work together to figure out the game, then the more the merrier, but if you're all pitted against one another, then you would want fewer people, but once you're logged in, there's no backing out. So whatever is in store for you, you just have to suck it up and take it. I would keep an eye on this guy. He is smart enough to charge his music player and take advantage of the electricity while he can. No one else thought of this, so I would immediately put him above the rest in terms of competence, at least at first glance. This game is a 5 of spades, 5 being the difficulty and spades being the type of challenge, which is physical ability, and that is going to suck for all you couch potatoes out there. A friendly stranger comes up to them and gives them very valuable information. It seems very unlikely to me that someone who knows this much about the game would give this information over for free, but whatever. He tells us that clubs are team battles, diamonds are challenges of intellect, and hearts are challenges of the heart, which involve trust and betrayal. This information also tells us that you really do not want to do any challenges with people you care about because there's a chance you get pitted against each other in a life or death game, which our group later learns the hard way. This one is a game of tag in which someone is tagging you with bullets while you find a safe area where the entire building will blow up. Oh, and I forgot to mention you only have 20 minutes. So you have to run around this building looking for a safe area and you have no idea what it looks like while there's guys with machine guns chasing you around. Yeah, good luck with that. This game might even be more difficult than the last one depending on how you look at it. The first game, in my opinion, would mostly be luck, in which most of you would get barbecued, but if you're lucky, you can get through it. That is not the case with this one. The entire building is just one long hallway after another, and if you get caught by one of these guys going down one, it's over. They don't even need to be good shots, just spray down the hallway and you're taking a dirt nap. It seems that they have plenty of ammo since they don't care about conserving it. If they see someone, they just empty the clip. They, along with a couple of other people in the game, decide that they will attack the gunman while Gamer looks for the safe zone, which is lucky for him. I would much rather be looking for the room than trying to attack someone with a machine gun. This guy learns the hard way that you can't trust people in these games. He lures the gunman out, but the soldier guy doesn't come to help him as planned and just leaves him to die. There's a good chance that if any of us were here, it is the kind of shit that would happen to us. Once they do start fighting him, he actually starts beating their ass. Even when Bartender stabs him a few times, he still doesn't go down. It's pure plot armor that he doesn't kill them both. Gamer figures out that it doesn't make sense that one of the gunmen was trying to shoot someone from another landing and thinks that this is the safe area. He isn't alone in discovering that. This very pretentious-looking guy also figures it out. This is the same guy I warned you all about earlier, the one charging his music player. Once inside, they start looking around and a gunman comes in and somehow misses them both at point-blank range. They should both be dead here, even if Gamer pushes the guy and jumps out of the way. This guy could have easily sprayed the entire room with bullets. There's literally nowhere to hide in here, but somehow neither of them bites it. Again, pure plot armor is the only reason they survive. This is 2 games in a row that our protagonist should be dead, but pretentious guy manages to tase him, which is what he was actually charging earlier, not some music player. Unfortunately for both of them, the taser wasn't enough to bring him down, and he fires again at point-blank range and somehow doesn't blow both of their heads off. That's twice in the last 30 seconds that they should have been roach food. Gamer is now trapped in the safe zone, but there are 2 buttons and they have to be pushed at the same time. But they're too far apart for him to do it alone, so he yells out the window for someone to come help him, and that's when the gunman breaks in and somehow in a completely empty room misses Gamer running straight at him. Again, he should be dead here. At this point, I'm thinking they should be wearing a stormtrooper outfit instead of a horse mask. This chick jumps through the window, catches the taser, and tases the gunman. Might want to pick up his gun and put a few rounds in him. The taser didn't seem to work very well the last time. They managed to hit both the buttons and stop the bomb going off with 1 second left on the clock, and in typical Hollywood fashion. He should have been dead a minimum of 3 times in this extra unnecessary game. So if you're in his shoes, I don't like your chances. The gunman takes his mask off and it turns out this one is a woman. Well, that explains why she missed so much. Then we get to see her neck get blown out. Looks like they were just other players that were stuck in here with them. This is also another sign that you do not want to play games with people you care about. They should also have taken the gun off her body. A gun wouldn't be useful in every game, but it could be, and there's no reason not to take it. Gamer and Bartender return from this unnecessary game alive. But the Bartender does have a knife wound, so now 2 of them will go into their next game with injuries. They begin to discuss what Bartender heard over the walkie-talkie. They don't really have much time to do anything about it since Chota only has 1 day left on his visa. The following night, they go to their new game. Okay, this is a rough one. They walk in to find a table full of weapons and some strange headsets. Seeing a table full of weapons tells you it's going to be a fight. It sure would be nice to have that gun from the previous game. Now, when they put the headsets on, there's some kind of facial recognition software. This is a game of hide and seek, and the difficulty is 7 of Hearts, which is a game about trust and betrayal. Seeing how there's only 4 players and they are all your friends, well, I guess she's not, but the other 2 are. This is not going to be a good night for any of them. The game's rules are one of the players is the wolf and the rest of you are lambs. When one of the lambs finds the wolf and make eye contact, they become the new wolf. The objective is that you have to not be the wolf at the end of 15 minutes or you die. So it's basically a free-for-all and only one of them can come out alive. This is why I was saying earlier that you do not want to go into these games with your friends. If he grabbed the gun off the bodies in the last game and they split up and went into separate games, they could have gunned down the other players and this game would be a breeze. But unfortunately, he has to fight his best friends in order to survive. Naturally, they begin to panic, and the role of the wolf goes back and forth between them. Realizing the pattern, the girl gets their attention, becomes the wolf and runs off. I can't really blame her for this. Only one of them is getting out of this alive and she is the odd man out, so to speak. Bartender does chase after her, but he hesitated too long and she's able to hide from him. When she comes out and starts to run. I have to point out that this chick is wearing heels to a death game, so I think she deserves a Darwin Award. Bartender does catch up to her and they start fighting. They make eye contact and Bartender becomes the wolf, but Gamer shows up and he becomes the wolf. As he is trapped on both sides, Chota tackles his love connection. He may have tapped that, but bros before hoes, am I right? Gamer uses this distraction to run and hide. Not sure what stopped Bartender from chasing him, but whatever. He is sitting in a corner crying for a while when he decides to sacrifice himself for one of his friends, but Bartender has a change of heart and hides from him. They talk about some of their fond memories and Gamer finds Bartender just in time to watch him get his head blown off right in front of him.
Emotional damage!
I know this is overused, but I couldn't resist. Gamer gives up all hope and lies down in the street just waiting to die.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Luckily for him, the climbing chick from the tag game finds him and decides to help him. After a couple days, she convinces him to continue on, and later that night they join another game. At the next game, they find a bus, and once inside they see 3 other men on board. They found out the game is called Distance, with the game being a 4 of clubs. Clubs being a team game, the objective is find and reach the goal in 2 hours, or you die, and it shows a distance of 0. They try and start the bus, but there's no gas in the bus, so shit out of luck there. They have to leave one of the guys behind because he has an injured ankle that he can't run on. Seems heartless, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and having an injury that impairs you in this world is definitely going to get you killed. So even if they could drag him through this game, he would likely die in the next one anyways. No reason to hamper yourself for a lost cause. At the beginning, there isn't much to this game, they just sort of run for a while. They do come across some water on a table, but don't end up drinking it because they're afraid that it might be poison, which is probably a good call. They continue on until they come across a panther. This thing is bloodthirsty too. It chases after them and gets one of them. Sure would be nice if they had a gun right about now. The only chance here is hoping that you aren't the one that gets grabbed so you can use it feeding on this guy as a distraction so you can escape. You are definitely not outrunning this thing, even if you weren't already exhausted from running. They manage to scare it off with a flare and escape. They continue, and they come across a motorcycle that runs on diesel fuel the same as the bus. So they think they can get it started and just drive to the finish. There are a couple problems with this. First, they have already ran a long way, and pushing a motorcycle with you would make going back take even longer. The second problem is, let's see, the fucking panther they just got past. So now he's going to have to try and get by that thing again, this time with no help and pushing a motorcycle. Yeah, good luck with that. And finally, the same place they met the panther is full of cars, which you're not getting a bus past that without moving them all out of the way, which would take even more time you don't have. So this plan would never work. They also never see the panther again, so I guess it just disappeared for plot's sake. But if it were us in this situation, we would get eaten by this thing if we happened to get by it the first time, which you wouldn't. Climber girl and this guy make it to the end, and as they're waiting for Gamer, they start to hear some weird noises, and they realize water is about to flood the tunnel and they start running. You would be exhausted at this point, and just like this guy is, he's too tired to run anymore, falls down and gets swept away by the water. I think this would happen to pretty much everyone here, even if you were in amazing shape. You're not outrunning this flooding water as Climber girl is running from her impending death. Here comes Gamer in the bus that he somehow got by all those cars at inhuman speeds. Somehow this Climber girl is also outrunning the water. She jumps and grabs Gamer's hand and gets pulled on the bus. I don't think I need to say much here. There just isn't any way that this is happening. This entire thing is fantasy. No real person could do this, and you would 100% be dead here. Even if you managed to get on the bus, it collided with the water very hard, and they were right by the door. It would have thrown them all over that bus, killing them, or at the very least causing some serious injuries and probably drowning them. But even if they survived this, they would not be uninjured and would definitely have some broken bones, which, as I've said before, is certain death. So your best option might be living out your 3 days and then just taking a laser when your visa runs out. After they wake up, they figure out the bus was the goal all along, and that they just needed to stay put. If they just figured that out, this could have been the easiest game yet. Oh well, at least they got their cardio in for the day. Later, Gamer tells Climber Girl about the beach that they heard about on the walkie-talkie earlier, and they decide to go and find it. They see some more guys with those locker keys on their wrists at a game they're spying on. They followed them to a hotel that has power, but unfortunately for them, they were also being followed, and someone comes up behind them and knocks them out. This would be a nightmare scenario. You're trapped in a death game world, and now you're at the complete mercy of whoever just kidnapped you. They wake up being interrogated by a bunch of people in swimsuits. They begin to tell them about this place called the beach. This guy named Hatter reveals a wall with all the playing cards on it with a bunch of them crossed out. He tells them that if one player gathers all the cards, that they'll be able to go back to the normal world. I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't actually know if this is the case or not and is just guessing. But they are giving you playing cards for a reason, so it's a reasonable guess. Gamer and Climber decide to join their group. Not that they had much of a choice. There are some rules that they must follow. First, everyone must wear swimsuits at all times, so it's harder to conceal weapons. Second, any cards from one of the games goes straight to the group, and third, traitors are executed. It's dangerous to be here. For one, they could decide to kill you at any time, and two, it could make you complacent. If you just drink and party it up the entire time between games, you aren't going to be prepared and likely die in the game. But that is probably going to happen to you anyway, so I guess live it up while you can. They want to test Gamer, so this woman enters his next game with him. They're in this room that is filling with water with a transformer hanging above them. The name of the game is Light Bulb with a difficulty that is 4 of diamonds. The objective is to find out which switch turns on the light bulb, but you can only flip one switch with the door open. The door won't close if someone is in the room, and you run out of time when the water touches these and you die. This is actually one of the easier challenges and a pretty common riddle. I had heard this one before I watched the show, and I assume a lot of you would have too. Even if you haven't, it's a pretty easy one to figure out, and if you had made it this far, I'm sure you'd be able to figure it out. They close the door first and flip switch A, leave it up for a little while, then flip it back down and flip B with the door open. The light was off, so they send someone in to touch the bulb to see if it's hot or cold. If it's hot, then it's A. If it's cold, then it's C. They know it's not B because they flipped that one with the door open. This apparently proves his worth, even though this is probably the easiest game yet. Gamer gets invited to a meeting with all the executives. There is a clear rivalry between Hatter and the Special Defense Force. Getting caught in the middle of this is not going to be good for you. The next day, Gamer and Climber try gathering some information. While investigating, Gamer hears gunshots and he goes to check it out and sees some of the defense force walking away from a dumpster. Once they're gone, he goes to check it out and finds a bunch of bodies in the dumpster, which is just a glimpse into his future. The pretentious guy from the tag game shows up and offers a team up with him to steal all the cards away from Hatter. After some convincing, he agrees. This is really stupid. He has no idea whether this guy is trustworthy or not, and even if he is, there is no guarantee he won't get caught. Either way, they're going to kill you. Even if it goes according to plan and you get away with it, you have no idea if getting all the cards means that you get to leave. If it doesn't, they're going to find you eventually, either hunting you down in the city or running into you during one of the games. No matter what, this is a really dumb thing to do. An emergency meeting is called and they learn that Hatter is dead. It's obviously one of the defense force that killed him. Aguni is made the new leader, and now the defense force no longer has anyone to keep them in check. Gamer goes upstairs looking for the safe. He finds it, and Pretentious tells him the code, but it doesn't open. The thugs catch him in the act, and it turns out it was a part of Pretentious guy's plan all along. C can't trust anyone. Gamer is taped to a chair, and they're going to leave him there until his visa runs out. The only reason they do this is to give our protagonist a chance to escape. All the other traitors they just shot and threw into a dumpster, so this is where he should have ended up. Oh, and why are they throwing the bodies into a nearby dumpster? It's not like there's a garbage man that is going to come and collect them. They would start to stink really quickly. They should just burn them or something. Anyways, now Gamer is stuck here while Pretentious gets to steal all the cards for himself. Just when Climber Girl is about to get violated, a new game starts trapping everyone in the hotel. It's the 10 of Hearts game, the last remaining non-face card that they need. Everyone runs to the lobby and they see a girl who has been stabbed to death. This game is called Witch Hunt, and they have 2 hours to find who killed her and throw them onto the fire or everyone dies. You know, the typical stakes. They throw around accusations for a while, then all hell breaks loose and the thugs just start killing everyone. They have weapons and no one else does. A dynamic that was pretty stupid to allow in the first place. Eventually they find Gamer and free him. They all go to confront Aguni. Seems like a bad idea since they have all the guns, but with only 15 minutes left, what choice do they have? If they don't find the witch, they're all going to die anyways. Aguni claims that he is the witch and Gamer calls him a liar, then he smacks him around a bit. Gamer says that the girl killed herself and that all they have to do is throw her body on the fire. Aguni gets angry and starts to fight everyone. They should have just grabbed her body and threw it on the fire in the commotion, but instead this girl tries to be a distraction by saying she is the dealer of this game, which is rewarded with a laser to the dome. This crazy asshole shows up and just starts shooting everyone, and for some reason Aguni sacrifices himself to kill him so Gamer can live. How convenient. They then burn the girl's body and clear the game. Pretentious goes back inside and gets the 10 of Hearts. The next day, Gamer and Climber are watching a video from the dealer girl's phone, saying that she and her friend were chosen to set up the games and will be killed if anyone finds out who they are. In one of the videos, they go through a subway showing where the game watchers operate from. They go there to find that all the watchers have been killed. That's when Pretentious Guy and his friend walks in. This would be a perfect time to get some revenge for selling him out. One of the beach's executives comes on the screen congratulating all the players on their victories, telling them that there is a prize for them, which is a new round of games, this time including all of the face cards. What a nice prize. So Gamer would have died about 1,000,000 times, and now the next set of games is going to be even harder. So what do you think? Could you have survived Alice in Borderland? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Also, leave me some suggestions of movies or TV shows that you would like to see in the future, and thanks for watching. And remember, trust no one.